NFL Week 8 predictions. The season is like almost halfway over, which is crazy to think about this early on. We'll go through every game. The timestamps for each game will be in the description if you want to go to a certain game. I believe that's all I have, so now let's get into the video. So we'll start with the Week 7 review. So the first 4 games are looking good. I got the Thursday nighter right. Patrick Mahomes did exit in like the second quarter, I believe, but they were up like 2 scores by that point, and the Broncos offense had nothing going. The Chiefs defense was very good. Raiders at Packers. The Raiders were actually kind of close in that game for a while, but the Packers really just pulled away in the fourth quarter. Aaron Rodgers, I think, had the first perfect passer rating in Green Bay history, which is crazy to think about. Rams at Falcons went just about as I thought it would. I thought the Rams would have a very nice game offensively. I forget the score, but it was like 37-13 or something like that. I don't know. They blew them out, basically. 49ers at Redskins. I mean, that game was just not fun to watch because there was terrible weather conditions. I mean, a lot of rain. Guys were sliding all over the field, and they won that game 9-0. I did bet the 49ers at a -9, so I got off the hook there, luckily. But I think if it was better conditions, they would have won that game by a lot more. Texans at Colts. I mean, the Colts are coming off the bye. I went with a bold pick and picked the Texans, who I think were underdogs in that game. It was close at least, but the Colts took care of them. Deshaun Watson had a late interception. I think it was a crazy play by Darius Leonard, where like the ball kind of bounced off of like Kiki Cutie's hands, and very unfortunate interception for them. Vikings at Lions. So, the Vikings offensively had another great game. Adam Thielen went down early in this one, but still the Vikings offense was great. Dalvin Cook was running all over them. The Lions, I mean, they still look pretty good offensively. Marvin Jones had 4 touchdowns. I actually traded for him in a fantasy league, so I was so happy about that. The Jaguars at Bengals. So another game, kind of tough to watch. Second week in a row, Andy Dalton gets like a late rushing touchdown to kind of salvage his week and make the score not look as bad. But the Jaguars were in full control, and their defense went off in the fourth quarter. The Jaguars defense looked pretty good in that one. Cardinals at Giants. Of course, I watched that whole game. The Giants defense still can't tackle anybody. Chase Edmonds looked like Emmitt Smith out there, and basically it. Daniel Jones made some mistakes with the ball. Dolphins at Bills. The Dolphins kept it kind of close. I think they lost by only like 13 or 10 points or something like that. They did not cover the 17-point spread. I did bet the Bills, or I did bet the Bills in that game, so I thought they would cover that, but did not happen. But the Bills defense still looks good. Fitzpatrick had his moments, but still, I mean, the Bills obviously are the better team right now, so they took that one. The Chargers at Titans. I got that one right by about 4 inches. If you watch that game, the Chargers had the ball on the goal line, literally about a few inches away from the end zone, and Melvin Gordon had 2 chances to punch that ball in. First was unsuccessful. He fumbled the second one, and the whole Melvin Gordon thing is hilarious to me. I mean, I wouldn't have paid him if I was the Chargers. I'm happy they didn't, and I just saw that he recently admitted that his holdout was stupid, and yeah, obviously. So I'm happy he's not doing well, honestly. So the Ravens at Seahawks. I picked the Seahawks to win that game. The Ravens went in there, and they took it. Lamar Jackson ran for like, I don't even know how many yards it was. It was clearly over 100 yards, probably like 140, 150. They could not stop him on the ground. That was a big thing. Mark Andrews, I think, no, he did not have a touchdown, or did he? He dropped one at one point. I forget if he did, but basically the Ravens offense was not being stopped in that game, especially Lamar Jackson on the ground. The Saints at Bears. This was a tough one to watch. I picked the Bears. It was looking all right in the beginning. It was a close game. Then the Bears started making mistakes, of course, offensively. They did have the Cordell Patterson, touchdown on the kickoff. That was cool, but really after that, they had no offense. Latavius Murray went off, and Alvin Kamara was out that game, so I wasn't really expecting that, but Latavius Murray had a fantastic game in that one. The Eagles at Cowboys. I could not have been more wrong about that one. I was definitely on the Eagles that game, and the Eagles had 2 fumbles their first 2 possessions, and right away I knew that was a bad pick, and I think the Cowboys beat them like 37. What was the score of that game? It was pretty bad, though. If you watch that game, it was like 37-10 or something. Not good for the Eagles. The Patriots at Jets. I mean, maybe the worst game of the year by any team. I mean, even maybe worse than one of the Dolphins games at the beginning of the year. Sam Darnold had, I think, the worst game statistically since the Nathan Peterman 5-interception game. The guy was seeing ghosts on the field, apparently. Patriots looked dominant as hell. I mean, just their defensive scheme was just, all up in Sam Darnold's head, and he had no idea what to do. So the Patriots continue to look dominant. The Jets, they were up here last week, and now they're back down here after that win against the Cowboys. So it is what it is. So that's it. I went 8-6 on the week. Not great. I think that's a downgrade from last week. My record is now 65-40-1 on the year. So now let's get into the Week 8 games. So we start with Thursday Night Football as always, not the most exciting game. It's the 1-6 Washington Redskins go to Minnesota to play the 5-2 Vikings, who have been on fire offensively lately. So I don't have the notes written down in this video. I mean, honestly, it's too much work. So basically I put who I want or who I think's going to win and the spread pick as well. I think spread picks are pretty fun. It makes the thing like more even. It's a whole crapshoot basically. So I picked the Vikings both ways. I think they're just better everywhere. I mean, there's not really a position group where the Redskins are arguably better than the Vikings. The Vikings are amazing at home. They have looked phenomenal offensively ever since that Bears game where just they couldn't really put the ball in the end zone. They looked terrible. The receivers came out and spoke about Kirk Cousins. Their offense has been on fire since then. I think Dalvin Cook's going to have a monster game in this one, and I think it's going to be a pretty easy win. So minus 15.5 is a lot, but I just don't know how Washington is going to score in this game. I think Adrian Peterson's banged up. Chris Thompson missed last week. They still have Terry McLaurin, obviously, but they can shut down one player if they want to. I mean, they're good enough on defense to do that. So, look, maybe they cover it. I mean, 2 touchdowns is a lot to cover, obviously, so maybe they do cover this game. But I already bet the Vikings. I feel like they're just going to go ahead early in this game. Maybe there's a backdoor cover, but I think this is going to be a pretty easy game for the most part for the Vikings. On to Sunday's games, we have the 2-5 Los Angeles Chargers at +4 against the 3-4 Chicago Bears. Both teams coming off pretty tough losses, both in different fashion. Obviously, the Chargers were very, very close to winning their game, and Chicago got blown out on their home field. I can't remember the last time this Bears defense gave up that many points. I mean, I think the week before they had a rough game as well, if I remember correctly. Who did the Bears play 2 weeks ago? I can't remember, but they lost that game too. So their defense, I mean, I don't know what's going on with them, honestly, but their offense looks even worse. I mean, people are talking about Matt Nagy and whether he should be calling plays anymore at this point. It's not looking good for them. And the Chargers, I mean, they're going to get healthier at some point. Melvin Ingram, I think, could come back in this game. I think Russell Okung might come back in this game, their left tackle as well. So I'm going to go with the Chargers. I understand they're on the road. Playing in Chicago is tough, but I just don't trust Chicago's offense at all. I really don't know what to say at this point. I mean, they had, like, the lowest amount of rushing yards last game in like Chicago Bears history or some kind of stat like that. It's not looking good for them. David Montgomery has looked terrible. Tariq Cohen's catching like 8 passes a game for like 20 yards, and it's just they have no identity right now other than Allen Robinson, who's really the only catalyst for that offense. I mean, you think maybe like they would get some deep balls to Taylor Gabriel or maybe Anthony Miller, who had some nice catches at some points. He did have a fumble in that game as well. But, you know, they just don't have an identity right now. And I think the Chargers hopefully should move away from Melvin Gordon. That offense is way better with Austin Eckler on the field. I don't know what the coaches are seeing. I hope they saw it last week, but I hope they see more Austin Eckler this game. I feel like that would help their offense a lot more. So we'll see what happens with their running back rotation. But if I was the coach, I would definitely have Austin Eckler in there more. So I'm going to go with the Chargers to win this game and cover the, a 4-point spread. Up next, we have my team, the New York Giants, at 2-5. Not good. Against the 2-3-1 Detroit Lions. So the Lions are a lot better than their record says they are. They've had a lot of tough losses this year, whether it was like the tie in week 1, the couple games where the refs basically stole the game from them, of course, the Green Bay one, and even last week I heard there was a couple of tough calls against them. So I don't know what's going on with Detroit. They never really had a good history with the refs, but I think this is a game Detroit's going to win pretty easily, honestly. I mean, I don't want to say it, but Detroit's just a really good football team in my mind. They're not really bad anywhere. They had a very questionable trade this week with I think Quadri Diggs, and Darius Slay tweeted out he wasn't very happy about it, and the maybe the locker room right now is not in the best of shape right now for the Lions, but talent-wise and how good their offense has been this year, I think they're going to go off in this game. I mean, the Giants have a very tough time covering people in their secondary, so Marvin Jones, Kenny Golladay, those type of guys, even Danny Amendola in the slot has had some big games this year, so I think offensively the Lions will be fine. Can Daniel Jones put up enough points and, not turn over the ball in this game? I'm not so sure. I mean, the Lions have a pretty good defense, so we'll see. I think their defensive line's pretty good, so I don't know. I think the Lions win this game by like 10 points or something like that, so I have them covering the 6.5-point spread, and of course they're going to win the game outright in my opinion. Up next, we have the 3-4 Philadelphia Eagles against the 5-1 Buffalo Bills. I'm going to come out and say, do not trail me in this game. I have no feel for it whatsoever. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I am lost on the Eagles. I thought they were going to win in Dallas last week. They laid an egg. And there's always a lot said about a team that gets their ass handed to them on national TV. They usually come back the next week and put up a much better performance. So that's kind of what I'm, being sold on right now, is that the Eagles are going to be like, practice very well this week and then come out and have a great first half against the Bills. And the Bills offensively, they have their struggles, but so do the Philadelphia Eagles on defense. I mean, their defense has been so bad this year. I mean, the last 2 games they've given up probably like 80 points or something, back to the Vikings game 2 weeks ago and then the Cowboys game. Both games were on the road, and now this one's on the road as well. So Josh Allen's not as good as those other quarterbacks. I mean, Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins. I mean, look, I don't love those guys, but still, they're better than Josh Allen right now at this point in his career. But he adds a rushing threat that, I don't know if the Eagles can handle that. So it obviously depends how many points the Bills put up offensively. I mean, no duh, but I don't know. I just feel like the Eagles are going to have a very good week this week in practice. They're going to come out and just start out this game very well, and I think that's enough for them to win this game. I could be very wrong. They might get their asses kicked again, and then I'll be off the Eagles completely. But right now, I'm giving them one more chance, and we'll see what happens. But I don't know. I do not have a good feeling about it whatsoever. So I think the Bills could kill them. It would not surprise me, but I'm going to go with the Eagles in both categories here. Next, we have the 5-2 Seattle Seahawks go on the road to Atlanta to play the 1-6 Atlanta Falcons. Not a good year for them, obviously. Seahawks are favored by 5.5 points on the road. I guess that makes sense to me. I thought it'd be a little bit more because we're not even sure if Matt Ryan's playing right now. Apparently, he did not practice today on Wednesday, so obviously I don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 days. He does have a high ankle sprain, so obviously if he doesn't play, I think their backup is Matt Schaub, who used to be with like the Texans and the Ravens and the Raiders maybe. I don't know, but he's been all over the place. But he's very old. He's like 38 years old now, so obviously that's a big downgrade at quarterback if he doesn't go. I think if you see Matt Ryan is ruled out for this game, you check this spread right away, and if it's still the same thing, you just pound the Seahawks, basically. I think the Seahawks, offensively will be able to run all over them with Chris Carson, Rashad Penny, and, I'm sure Tyler Lockett will make some big plays at some point as well. So Atlanta's defense has been nothing this year. Their offensive line's been nothing this year. They have no Matt Ryan, maybe, so I'm going to go with Seattle in both cases here. I mean, even if Matt Ryan plays, I mean, their defense is so atrocious that I feel like Seattle offensively can get enough points to cover the spread and, of course, win the game as well. So I'm going to take Seattle in this one. Next, the Arizona Cardinals at 3-1. They are plus 10.5 against the 6-1 New Orleans Saints, who are home for this game. So this line, I mean, I feel like if it was 9.5, I'd probably go with the Saints, but I feel like this is a 10-point game, so I'm going to go with the Cardinals to cover the spread here. But obviously, I do have the Saints winning this game. We're not sure right now if Drew Brees is going to play in this game or not. Apparently, he's like practicing, and I don't know if Alvin Kamara is going to play in this game. But I think the smart thing to do is to keep both of them out of this game. You have the bye next week, I think, for the Saints, so you might as well keep those guys out, let them get even more healthy, and then play this game with Teddy Bridgewater and Latavius Murray. I mean, both guys had great weeks last week. Teddy Bridgewater's been really good in the filling in for Drew Brees. So I say, why not go with those guys? Arizona's offense, I mean, it's been very good these last few weeks, but they haven't played a defense like nearly as good as the Saints. I mean, they went off against the Bengals, the Giants, and who else did the Cardinals play? I can't remember now. But these weren't like Saints-type defenses. So this is like a real test for Kyler Murray, and I'm kind of interested to see what's going to happen here. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen for the Cardinals. They might get Christian Kirk back, who they've been missing for the last few weeks. So that would be nice. And, David Johnson has a back injury, obviously, or an ankle injury nowadays. I mean, he's been banged up a lot this year. So it might be Chase Edmonds as the starter. So I don't know. I'm going to go with them to cover. I feel like 10.5 points is a lot right now for this Cardinals team, which looks like they're gelling together and they're playing really well. And I do think the Saints win this game, so I think it'll be a little bit closer than the book has it, but going to go with the Cardinals to cover and Saints to win the game outright. Next, we have the 0-7 Cincinnati Bengals against the 4-3 Los Angeles Rams. This game is in London, I believe, so there's not really a home field advantage here. And obviously, the Bengals have looked terrible this whole season. I mean, they almost won week 1, but after that, it seems like everything has just been getting worse and worse for them. So I think they've covered like the last 2 weeks, maybe based off like those late touchdowns, those garbage time touchdowns. So I don't know, maybe there's backdoor potential if you pick the Rams to win this game by 13.5 points. But honestly, I like their chances to win by 2 touchdowns or more. So if I had to bet this game, I'd probably take the Rams side of it. Obviously, there's not really much to talk about. The Rams looked like they solved a lot offensively last week, and now they play a neutral game against another really bad defense. So I think they'll be fine offensively, and I mean, I think maybe the Rams have a bye next week. I'm not sure. Usually these games in London, the team has a bye the next week, so I'm not sure. But actually, they do have a bye next week. Yeah, so now I remember. But I do think they're going to come out here. They're going to play really well offensively. I mean, their defense doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, Cincinnati does not have much offensive firepower, so you don't have to be great. I mean, Joe Mixon's been pretty bad this year. You have to blame the offensive line, obviously, for that. But I don't know. I just don't see Cincinnati putting up a lot of points, and I do see the Rams scoring a lot, so I'm going to take them to cover this game, even the 13.5-point spread. Next, we have the 2-5 Denver Broncos against the 4-2 Indianapolis Colts. They are a -6 in this game, and I don't know, for some reason I want to pick the Broncos to cover the spread. I do think the Colts win this game outright. Of course, they'll do their usual thing, try to pound the ball with Marlon Mack in this one. Denver's run defense has been like up and down all year, I feel like, so maybe they'll try to run the ball. They'll see if it's successful or not. But for Denver, I mean, they did lose Emmanuel Sanders due to the trade. I mean, they're going to have Deshaun Hamilton in his role now. Cortland Sutton's been great for them this year. They have the 2 running backs. So I feel like offensively they might be able to do some things. Joe Flacco has been like just mediocre at best this year, but I think he'll do enough to keep them in this game. It's not like the Colts offense is like scary good. I mean, they are pretty good, but they're not going to like blow you out of the building in most cases. I think for some reason the Denver Broncos keep this game close. Everything's telling me to take the Colts, but for some reason I just want to take the Broncos to cover the spread. For some reason I feel like this should be a touchdown or more, and it kind of feels fishy to me. So I'm going to go with the Broncos in that regard. I mean, usually Vegas knows more than we do, so I'm going to pick the Broncos to cover it, but I do have the Colts winning this game outright. Next, we have the 1-5 New York Jets against the 3-4 Jacksonville Jaguars. This game is in Jacksonville. They're favored by 5.5 points in this one. And, the Jets coming off that very, very bad Monday night game. They have the limited time to prep for this game because of having the extra day. So, I mean, I don't know. I still feel like the Jaguars are going to win this game. I think it'll be close. It feels like a field goal game. So, I think they're going to cover the 5.5, but I don't know. The Jets 2 weeks ago had a phenomenal game against the Cowboys. They really played that game flawlessly outside of the Sam Darnold interception that they had in like the red zone. But outside of that, they played a great game against the Cowboys. So it's hard for me to just buy into the fact that they're the same team we saw against New England. I mean, New England's defense has made teams look very bad this year, and this is another example of it. So, I don't know. Jacksonville's had a tough time putting the ball in the end zone this year. Leonard Fournette's had a very good year, and it's kind of weird. You look at Fournette's stats, he has like 700 rushing yards and 1 touchdown. That makes no sense to me. Maybe this is a game where he gets a couple touchdowns against the Jets' run defense. So, I don't know. I think the Jets keep this one close. I don't see them getting blown out because Jacksonville does not have that type of offense. So, I think the Jets can hang around in this game. I do think Jacksonville wins it, but I do have the Jets covering that 5.5-point spread. So the last of the 1 o'clock games, I believe, it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming off a bye at 2-4 against the 3-4 Tennessee Titans, coming off that very, very tight win against the Chargers at home. So I was a little surprised to see Tennessee favored in this game. I guess it makes sense. The reason I like Tampa in this game is because they have the best run defense in football, well, arguably the best run defense in football. They've shut down like Christian McCaffrey, who else? Todd Gurley at one point. I mean, they've shut down like every big running back they've played, and I mean, they're going to try to just pound the ball with Derrick Henry 20-plus times. That's what the Tennessee offense does. The one scary part is that their passing offense is a lot better with Ryan Tannehill as compared to Marcus Mariota. So, we know Jameis Winston's going to make mistakes. I mean, Tennessee's defense overall is not that bad. Their secondary's had their issues, but I don't know. I just feel like they'll have 2 weeks to prep for this game. I like Bruce Arians as a coach a lot. They do have a lot of good weapons, obviously, with Mike Evans, Godwin. Can they maybe get O.J. Howard involved? I don't know. So, I mean, they'll be passing the ball a lot. It just comes down to Jameis Winston and how much he turns the ball over. But a 2.5-point spread, you're asking them to cover less than a field goal. I think they just win the game outright. I could be wrong about this. Maybe I'm sleeping on Ryan Tannehill a bit too much. I did pick Tennessee to win that game last week, but I don't know. Back-to-back weeks of that, I just don't see it happening. I do like Tennessee's offense more with Tannehill under center, but due to the extended rest and, the whole bye week and stuff like that, and then prepping for this game more, I'm going to pick the Buccaneers to win it outright and cover the spread, obviously. The 4-2 Carolina Panthers against the 6-0 San Francisco 49ers. So this game is in San Francisco. The Niners are favored by 5.5 points. I picked the Niners in both to win this game and spread pick, but for some reason I feel like this is a trap game. I mean, the Carolina Panthers had their bye last week, so they have extended rest, and San Francisco's coming off that game in Washington in the rain and stuff like that. So obviously, I mean, they've had just, pretty easy schedule, the Niners for the most part. Carolina's probably one of the better teams they've faced so far this year, which isn't saying much, but I don't know. I mean, they have the extended rest, and Kyle Allen's looked pretty good this year. I mean, I watched him play a few times. lines like a lot, and I don't know, he always impresses me. He doesn't really lose you games. I mean, he did have a game with like 3 fumbles, but outside of that, he just makes really good throws and makes pretty smart decisions for the most part. This could be a game where maybe the Carolina Panthers get them, and it wouldn't really shock me, but I don't know, their defense has been so good. I feel like if they just shut down McCaffrey, I feel like the rest will follow, and I think their offense for the Niners will be okay. I'm sure they'll try to get their running attack going. I think, what's his name, Matt Breida had a head injury last week. I'm not sure if he's actually has a concussion right now, but if he does, that could be pretty big for this game because they like to lean on both of their running backs. So Tevin Coleman's healthy. They just traded for Emmanuel Sanders, the Niners, so that should help their passing attack. So I'm going to go with them in this game, but as I said, this is not like a guarantee for me. It would not shock me if the Panthers had an upset here, but this is a pretty big test for the Niners because, they can catch them sleeping here, but going to pick the Niners in both categories here. Next, we have the Oakland Raiders at 500, 3-3 against the 4-3 Houston Texans. The Texans are favored by 6.5 points here, so I think this game will be close. I mean, you look at the last week's score for the Oakland game and the Packers, it looked like a blowout, but as I said earlier, they were in that game for a lot of it. I mean, in the third quarter, I feel like it was a one-possession game. They had that stupid play with Derek Carr, who did this, for the second time in his career, I believe, where he just reached for the end zone, and the ball went into the end zone. He fumbled it for a touchback, so that took 7 points off the board for them right there. So that game should have been a lot closer, honestly, than it was. So I think the Raiders will hang around in this game. Houston does have their deficiencies on the offensive line and their defense even, so I feel like both teams will be able to score in this game, obviously. I think it'll be close. I don't see the Texans winning this game by more than a touchdown, so I'm going to pick Oakland to cover the spread, and I do think overall that the Texans win a tight game in this one. Next is a very intriguing game. We have the 2-4 Cleveland Browns coming off a bye against the 7-0 New England Patriots, who are at home for this game. They are favored by 12.5 points in this one, so look, I don't know. I mean, maybe the Browns actually play well in this game because they've had 2 weeks to prepare for this game, but do I trust Freddie Kitchens on 2 weeks of preparation compared to Bill Belichick for 6 days of preparation? No, but I don't know. They've had a lot of time to prep for this. They got healthier. Their secondary has been pretty unhealthy this year for the Cleveland Browns. They should be back now. So, I don't know. Do they cover the 12.5 point spread? I have it listed as no, but it wouldn't shock me. I mean, of course, they have the offensive weapons to stay in this game, but as I've always said, I mean, the Patriots defense is just crazy good, and until I see them actually give up a bunch of points, you kind of just have to keep rolling with the, that thought that they're just not going to give up a lot of points. So I do have the Patriots winning this game outright, obviously. Going to pick them for the spread. I'm not confident about it, so I'm probably not going to actually bet this game, but this is a big game for Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham, all those guys. I mean, if they come out here and actually give the Patriots a good fight and are like the first team to actually score like over 20 points on this Patriots team, then that's a good look for them. I mean, they're probably not going to win this game. They'll probably go 2-5 after that, so it's not a good look for their playoff chances. But for the most part, if they just come out here and play competitive football and just don't get blown out like the Jets last week, I think it's a pretty, I don't want to call it a win or like a moral victory, but like that's basically what it is. I mean, if you stay close with these guys, I mean, you're probably not going to win in New England, but if they hang around and stay close with these guys, I consider that a win for the Cleveland Browns, and it's definitely like an uplifting hope for them for the rest of the year. So hopefully they stay in it. We'll see how Cleveland's offense does. I'm very interested to watch what they do offensively in this game. We know what the Patriots offense is, and I don't know if the Browns defense can even stop them. So we'll see if Myles Garrett, Olivier Vernon, those type of guys can get some pressure on Tom Brady. That's definitely huge for this game. And maybe the Browns surprise us. I don't know, but I do think the Patriots win this game outright, and I do have them covering that 12.5 point spread. Next, we have Sunday Night Football, the 6-1 Green Bay Packers against the 5-2 Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, basically all of this game depends on Patrick Mahomes and if he plays. Apparently he was practicing today, which is crazy to hear about because apparently he was supposed to be out for like 36 weeks, and now he's just coming back. Like, it's the same thing with Saquon Barkley and his ankle injury. Like, Saquon looked like was out for at least a month, and the guy comes back in like 3 weeks. So it's just crazy how these guys like just heal. I don't even know what it is, honestly. I mean, I don't know if they're tough or they heal differently. I don't know what it is, but Patrick Mahomes, if he plays in this game, I feel like I don't think I would still pick the Chiefs. I would pick them to cover a 4.5 point spread, but I think this spread is with Matt Moore under center, so I don't know if I guess KC would obviously be favorites at home with a healthy Mahomes, but right now I really don't know what the spread would be if Mahomes came back and he was hobbled. I really don't know what it would be. So based off me thinking that Mahomes is not going to play in this game, I'm going to go with the Packers to win this game outright and cover a 4.5 point spread. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is like a 500 quarterback, I think, on the road in his career, so I mean, KC KC's a very tough place to play. I don't think the Packers will come out here and just beat them up. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I mean, not having Mahomes definitely sucks, but Kansas City's defense looked really good against the Broncos. I understand it's the Broncos, but they have, extended rest and all that kind of stuff. Green Bay's gotten away with some, I would say like an easier schedule. They've gotten some lucky breaks this year. So, I buy into Green Bay, obviously. They were one of my like breakout teams this year, but I don't know if they're like as good as their record says they are, but KC, of course, it just depends on the quarterback health. I really don't know. I mean, with Matt Moore, I feel like it's probably a 7-point game. The Packers win it by a touchdown, but if Mahomes plays, very close game in my opinion. I feel like it's a field goal game either way, so it really depends on the health of him, but I can't sit here on Wednesday night and say if he's playing or not, obviously, so I'm going to go with the assumption that he's not playing and take Green Bay to win the game and to cover it. Lastly, for Monday Night Football, definitely not the most, exciting Monday night matchup. We have the 0-6 Dolphins against the 2-4 Pittsburgh Steelers. I right now don't know who's going to play quarterback for the Steelers. It looks like Mason Rudolph has a chance of playing in this game, and I think they're leaning towards that right now, so I'm under the assumption that he's going to be the starter of this game, so let's go with that. I'm going to pick Pittsburgh to win this game. Obviously, they are at home, but I feel like the Dolphins can cover a 14.5-point spread. I mean, you're asking them to lose by less than 2 touchdowns, and Ryan Fitzpatrick's looked pretty good the last 2 weeks, I would say, and I mean, it looks like they're at least moving the ball and putting some points on the board. They scored like 20 points against the Bills last week, which is pretty impressive, so you have to give them some credit there. So, I don't know. I think they cover this. I'm not really, excited about Pittsburgh's offense. I mean, they have some guys at this point. Maybe Juju has a big game here, or, James Conner might be healthy because he was kind of hobbled going into the bye. So Pittsburgh is coming off a bye. That's definitely a big thing here. They are home, primetime game, so they might beat the crap out of them, but I'm not sure. I'm going to go with Miami to cover this spread. I could definitely be wrong about that. It could be another Monday night game where it's like a 33-0 type game like the Jets and the Patriots game, but I don't know. Hopefully it's close. Hopefully it's exciting because I'll probably be watching it either way. So going to pick the Steelers to win, and I'm going to have the Dolphins to cover that spread. So that's pretty much it for this video. I think that's the last game, obviously. So I appreciate you guys watching if you made it to the end, and I will talk to you next time.